Hi guys. Well, some of the information, I guess some of it could be. I don't know. Okay, let's see here. So I've just been listening to Chuck Missler and Dave Hunt, and Dave Hunt wrote "The Woman Rides the Beast." Actually, it should be "The Woman Sits on the Seven Heads," but anyway. So Chuck Missler goes through a lot of the poops in regards of Haley's book. If you get the right one, you will have the chapter of Roman Catholicism. I think they took it out of the newer versions, or actually they edited it. So they still have a chapter in the newer versions, but they don't have anything in regards of the Antichrist, as far as I recall. And then you have the version from that ecumenical bullshitter. That doesn't have the chapter. They took the chapter out from that. So can't offend anyone, right? But yeah, the Antichrist, of course, is the papacy. Chuck Missler talks about the history of huge amount of the people that have been in the position of the Antichrist. I think he gets a lot of the information from that. Haven't done that yet. I've read some of it, and I think uses these or this source at least that encrypted everything pretty much on my computer, including this thing. So I had to regain it, and I've gotten it back. Um, so with the other guy, the woman rides the beast. Well, the woman sits on the seven heads. Here and there where I pick up on things that no, that's not really so good. Like when Chuck Missler begins in regards of, he says they didn't count on having a bad report. Well, where do you know that from, right? So, but and there is something else as well. Was pointing to in regards to the Antichrist being in the future, even if he wrote that whole book in regard. It's incredible that Dave Hahn could write the book "The Woman Rides the Beast," and apparently they also had issues in regards of bookstores in regards of this book, not wanting to sell it and all that because it's anti-canon. I think that was in regards to that book. You show me one thing that is wrong, and I will take it back. I think that was that book. Could have been one of the others, but I think that was that. That was another book that also offended a lot of people in regards to the ecumenical movement that he wrote, although I can't remember the name, but that actually have some sources in regards to that book. Are not Christians, and that's just how it is. They're the devil's children, and they will use any mean and everything to their, any mean to get to their goal. Anyway, very interesting. It's like an hour of information. That was good. Now, of course, one can. And that could be, that would be a pretty good, nice step. Then you get Tom Fresh with his views on things and pointing out that, although I'm not sure what is happening with Tom Fresh, but after he went off that radio, he seemed Yeah, I don't know what happened with that, but any case, you can listen to him read the Dave Hans books, and so you get the best of best size pretty much. Um, it's an old, it's this that's before he got kicked off the radio. Well, I guess he's probably been kicked off actually multiple, but the last one does a radio thing that was called something. Oh my, it's not easy. Then I have one more that could be very interesting in this. Of course, the papacy is the Antichrist, and Dave Hahn comes with a lot of good information, and all overall his book is also, fixed so it. Oh, I didn't have the keyboard in it. Oh, maybe that's the reason. I've only have one keyboard and my slim client here that I'm trying to sort out is which I still haven't totally sorted out. I'm still having issues. Anyway, but he writes a whole book on the whole. Two guys, Chuck Missler or Dave Hunt, actually directly says who the Antichrist is. Of course, it's the papacy, but they give so much information, and yet they never really papacy to be the false prophet. That's of course absolutely nonsense, or a false prophet. Um, so that was two variations I heard from him. I think I actually written study so much in regards and point out who the whore is, right? Without knowing who the Antichrist is in regards to the papacy, and even in regards of the Waldensians and Albigensians and all these that he has researched, and you can't tell. He should have come if he's digging in those sources. He should have come around that in regards to the Antichrist over and over and over again. So, so he and they don't really talk. So that's kind of weird. That's kind of odd that it's. But anyway, it's great information. It's not the Jews, so that's correct. It's not the Jews, and he talks also about how Roman Catholicism has. So they give huge amount of information, good information. You just need to eat the meat and spit out the bones. But I do have, in my memory, there's one more thing that is, and I don't know who made it, but that was in regards of the Albigins energy, and yeah, it's yeah, I can't remember where it comes from, but I think I can find it. I think I have it in my micro SD card, so I will have to re-find it and maybe on what is going on. It's the Roman world order. Also, Chuck Missler gives warning in regards of heading into, that there's a possibility to head into the Dark Age again. Yeah. And of course, the Dark Age is the golden age of Roman Catholics. So that's how it is. But yeah, that was of course the papacy is the Antichrist. Just wanted to tell you guys that well, whatever. There's a good amount of information out there on it. It's just to find it and get through the smokescreen cover so you can think it's wrong. And I would be careful in regards to such people. But when you make it your own, when you find out what the Bible says, what we have in regards to hidden history, they've done a lot of things to hide it away, but the history is still out there. There's a lot of it, lots of it. But it has also been hidden away, and they have rewritten history and all that. So you have to get some right their best to write it as honest and not Roman Catholics who are trying to, doing the thing where they corrupt history instead of being honest and protecting their system. But it's interesting that you have Chuck Missler and Dave Hunt. That's for sure. He's done a lot of work, and he has exposed the Roman Catholicism on a good amount of levels, and yet he couldn't point out that the Antichrist, he couldn't point out that the papacy is the Antichrist. I remember listening to his book, The Woman Rides the Beast, which media player, and it's in the playlist. Although it's going to be a little slow, it's the media players. It's typical that animation and all those things and this and that, it makes a mess in regards of. It makes it slower. But anyway, it's in the playlist. Tom Fresh reading it. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, turn it around maybe. There we go. What Sits on Heads, Tom Fresh, and this is his book reading from that. And the closest Dave Hunt really gets to, there's one place where, and Tom Fresh also mentions it, where it's the closest place where Dave Hunt gets to say the papacy is the Antichrist, while he doesn't, It's lots of good information. And I'm dropping coffee everywhere. Anyway. So a great book overall, but the papacy is the Antichrist. There's no other. And or I think I can find it again. I don't think I have deleted it. It was absolutely amazing. Oops, that was the bias. Absolutely amazing. On the, on the different groups that is less well known. That was the topic in regards of, to get some knowledge of and the Hussites, and so he also gets a little around in regards to the persecution of these people. And I'm apparently throwing more coffee around. Apparently I have enough coffee to just throw it around. Oh well, anyway. But yeah, so don't it's lead people into falsehood, and it's just disgusting. The papacy is the Antichrist.